Welcome to AstroTwins Radio, your cosmic GPS for life, love, and everything written in the stars. We're Tali and Ophira Edut, the AstroTwins, here to decode the astrology of the moment and help you navigate your destiny like a pro.
Hey everyone, it's the week of April 14th to 20th. Ophi here in Detroit.
And Tali in Detroit. How curious. We're together here.
Yes, this is, I think, our first time doing this together in person, at least on camera. And we are home in our native Detroit for our spring family holiday visit.
And just in time because we're wrapping up Mars and Cancer this week. Let's frame up the week for them real quick and then we'll get into the details, because this week we are moving from this kind of soggy, watery retrograde energy into this fiery, forward-moving energy too. So first week of the year that all planets are direct. There are no retrogrades this week. That's not it. It is the last week of Aries season because the sun goes into Taurus on Saturday. But before that, we have some water to fire transitions. Mercury, the planet of communication, is heading back into Aries. It left Aries during its retrograde on March 29th. So now we kind of get to make up for the retrograde drama that we went through last month. And one of the biggest things happening is that Mars, the planet of ferocity, the planet of combat, the planet of courage, is finally leaving its debilitated fall position in Cancer and moving into Leo, where it's much happier. It's also going to be trining Neptune this week and squaring the sun, which is going to bring some interesting dynamics around leadership and personal motivation, creativity, fun, and style. So we'll get into all of those things one by one, but suffice it to say, if you're starting to feel yourself waking up a little bit this week, there's a reason why. So
So we are recording this on Sunday, April 13th, after the full moon yesterday, when Venus, the planet of harmony and peace and love and beauty, ended a retrograde that started March 1st. So I think this is my first time wearing nail polish this entire year. So we have gone, I think, from innies to outies in a way, to give a little Severance reference, we've been split in so many ways. I feel like people have reported highs and lows in their lives. Like, this one part of my life is going great, and this other part is so stressful, just all the world events and navigating that. And so the inner planets are the ones that are closest to the sun, and they affect our day-to-day lives. That's Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And it was very unusual that this year, all three of them were back to back or overlapping in retrograde. So from all the way until February 23rd, from the start of the year, Mars was retrograde and in Cancer since January 6th. Then we had Venus retrograde from March 1st to April 12th, and Mercury from March 15th to April 7th. So, but Mars,
the signs though that they were retrograde in,
we're very water. There's some fire to water for all of them. So we are. Let's start with Mars, which is returning to Leo for the first time. It was there from November 3rd to December 6th of last year.
And then it was retrograde again from December 6th to January 6th.
In Leo. So we're now going to make up for that. So Leo is about heart and spine and courage, real courage, not the fake bravado, but truly bringing out leadership again, maybe that we haven't seen all year long. That's happening on April 18th. Prior to that, Mercury, the planet of communication, is moving from Pisces back into Aries. So these
Wednesday.
On Wednesday, the 16th. So I think, we're water energy, which both of these planets have been in water signs, is very internal, which can make people very passive aggressive
and secretive, things going on below the surface that we couldn't fully have transparency. Everything's been very opaque.
Yeah. And now moving into fire signs, it's whew, what is going to happen. It's interesting that Blue Origin space mission, if you can call it that, the 11-minute space ride. I mean, luckily it didn't, as we hoped, it didn't launch a bunch of female space travelers during Venus retrograde.
I'm still really super nervous.
I know. Just something about it doesn't feel so good.
Probably because we've had so many aviation issues this year. It's just been so. I don't know. I'm
it's
scared.
not the first. It's not the first mission of this
I know.
shuttle. So it's a, it's a little bit like a Disney cruise to space.
I mean, I kind of want to talk a little bit about Mars on that extended voyage in Cancer that it's been in, because Mars. So every planet has a place in the zodiac that it loves to be in, and one that it's really uncomfortable in. And Mars hates being in Cancer. It loves being in Cancer's opposite sign, its exalted position of Capricorn. But Cancer is restrictive. Mars is all about courage and just rushing ahead. And Cancer is like cautious and worried and sensitive. So it really dulls that. But it has, like, Mars in Cancer has given this bravado. I feel like it's given bravado to.
It's like the mean girl transit.
It has been that's really
it's
well
such
said.
a mean girl transit, because it's like people fighting to use slurs against people, like
the R word,
and
it's so terrible.
Yeah, and like what? Why are we fighting to be jerks? Is that really? I think Joe Rogan says that, like, that it's the winning of the culture wars. It's been just like, I mean, if you think of Cancer, it's like the crabs. It's funny, we were talking about Mike Tyson, who's a Cancer, who has the meanest hook on the planet and that kind of thing. So, like, that is, if you think of a crab swiping someone with its pincher, that is a little bit what Mars and Cancer is, aggressive swiping. And it's just, we got enough.
And,
we don't need this.
Elon Musk has been aggressively swiping as a Cancer at fellow Cancer Peter Navarro. They're in their own war this week, which is, it's been, Schadenfreude fun to watch for me personally. But I also do want to say, though, that Cancer rules our security, our roots, our financial, our homeland.
And the LA fires came in. Mars is very fiery and destructive, and Cancer rules the home.
They started one day after Mars retrograded into Cancer. It started on January 7th. But also in terms of just what's been happening with the markets, the up and down and the instability of that, the international warfare with the tariffs, not knowing who is our ally now, what's going on behind the scenes. So I do think Mars's move out into front and center Leo on Friday from April 18th to from April 18th to June 17th. We've got 8 weeks of Mars being in this very proud. Now that could bring some swagger and ego, but it could also force transparency to come, like, these signal gaffes and these just this feeling of the therapists of the world might finally get a break and get to have time to go see their own therapists.
Reading something in Texas Monthly, I don't know, it's just what popped up on my news feed about how therapists were finding that people were coming in, and instead of talking about their personal life drama, they were just using their sessions to vent about the stress they were feeling from the state of the world and all the uncertainty. So Mars in Cancer has really been destabilizing us in ways that hopefully Mars in Leo at least will make us feel bolder and braver going forward for the next 2 months. Now we've also been looking at Jupiter and Gemini, which started May 25th of 2024 and ends June 9th of 2025. It's a year-long cycle. Jupiter is where things expand, and Gemini, again, Jupiter is uncomfortable in this too tight suit in Gemini, just like Mars was in Cancer, or is for a couple more days. So we did a little exploration on Instagram about Donald Trump and Xi Jinping being both Geminis, which, by the way, we were passive aggressively blocked from boosting that post. So we won't get into that
well,
one.
Facebook said they're not letting you. We wanted to just do a little boost to share because it was a big news story. And also Cory Booker's like, now the censorship is, we got a message, your ads were rejected because they contain political content. So I wonder if that's happening for both sides.
Yeah, I'm really curious. But that feels like a Jupiter and Gemini, Mars and Cancer kind of stew there. But it's very interesting because Trump and Xi are born one day apart, not the same year.
Wow.
I was looking at their charts. They both have a lot of Gemini, Cancer, and Leo in their charts. Trump's Leo rising. Xi is a Leo moon. And Mars and Cancer, I think Xi has Mars and Cancer. And Trump has Mars and Leo. So they've both had Mars, the aggressor, in their signs. And no wonder.
In their Mars signs.
In their Mars signs. Yeah, they've had their Mars returns. Thank you. And so, yeah, it's just, I was looking at what's going to happen in 90 days. Well, 90 days, that's July 9th, from the day of the tariff pause. Uranus, the planet of sudden change and revolution, is going to be 2 days newly into Gemini.
Oh my God.
Which is both of their zodiac signs
yeah.
For the first time since 1940s, 1941 to 49. So we're going to be looking at a whole different landscape. Now, Uranus rules technology, so I feel like there's some sort of crypto thing going on below the surface with that too. So
we need to, it could turn into some tech warfare. China actually could shut off our electric grid. I don't know if we have the technology to do that. I hope so. In which case, enjoy this podcast because there won't be one. Right. Yeah. We should talk a little bit about what might happen because, with Mercury now going back into Aries on Wednesday after being retrograde, there's kind of a chance to bring things back out into the open. I think we're going to see people feeling more empowered to fight back against
fighting
things.
Words,
yeah,
sure.
Fighting words. I saw that Harvard is suing the Trump administration for trying to restrict what they can teach and put unfair regulations on them. I also saw that there is a lawsuit also against the Trump administration by a right-wing group, that the Koch brothers, who are the right-wing, quote unquote, deep state funders of a lot of the, legislation that we personally have been railing against, but they are, they're big funders of some of the right wing agendas. So it appears that there may be a lot, I just feel like the pushback is coming. I don't know how far it'll go, but Mars and Leo again on Friday could, on a personal level, pump up your creativity, your courage, your desire. Your desire to get back out there and circulate and find your voice. It may bring some leaders out of hiding as well. And, I think Mars and Cancer made people want to go into hiding a little bit. There's so much to emotionally process.
I would say, well, for sure. I think, and if everybody I know has been having wild dreams. So, if you're hearing this and you've been having a lot of very vivid dreams, Mercury in Pisces, and since March 29th, Mars and Cancer will really fuel it. I feel like with the water signs that Mercury and Mars have been in, water signs, on a positive note, can make us more intuitive. They can make us more sensitive and compassionate. But the shadow side can be victim-y, make us feel helpless, overwhelmed, flooded, literally. If you've been feeling emotionally flooded, I have. Definitely. Like, oh my God, this is more than my nervous system can handle. Like, I mean, I found myself saying things that, you typically hear on TikTok from someone a fraction of my age. Like, I'm like, I'm speaking the language of trauma, but I felt it. I felt,
Well, a lot of
thank you, TikTok.
Yeah,
Thank
a
you.
lot of I mean, this has been traumatic. This has been reactivating for people. Safety concerns are popping up and have been. I mean, and it makes sense. You have students being snatched off the street in vans, getting potentially deported for organizing protests. You have Kilmar Abrego Garcia stuck in this El Salvadorian prison known for torture. And then the Supreme Court has said you've got to bring him home. And I've also heard that we're waiting to see if the Trump administration will actually abide by those orders. And I think with Mars going into Leo, there is a chance that there could be this blustery challenge to the highest court of law, which would, if you...
Mars can make the people whose sign it's in problematic. The president of El Salvador is a Leo. J.D. Vance is a Leo.
Trump is a Leo rising.
Right.
And has Mars, natal Mars in Leo. So
yeah, so we're cautiously optimistic at best about this, but it's gonna be a time where I think people are gonna really rise up with leadership, as much as good and bad.
I saw
Mars
that
is that aggression.
Bernie Sanders, a Virgo, was at Coachella. Was AOC with him?
I don't know, but Mars goes into Virgo June 17th, so maybe that's when Bernie and the other Virgos out there will have their moment. So yeah, but it's very scary. I mean, Mars in Cancer, an attack on families, an attack on home safety and that kind of thing. And even trans rights. They've really targeted transgender athletes in women's and females and girls' sports. Cancer is biological female and women.
And passports as well. Like, trans folks have had to get a passport with their birth gender on them.
Let's talk about the SAVE Act that passed too.
It did. We talked about that last week. It passed the House, which happens. It hasn't passed the Senate yet. I hope, if it does.
Hopefully Mars being out
then we really will be in Gilead,
Cancer is the trad wife of the zodiac too. So
sorry, Cancers. We're not calling you trad wives.
And there's some serious alpha females in the Cancer ranks too. But
Elizabeth
it can
Warren,
skew trad wife when it wants to. So women have also been really mean. Like I said, it's the mean girl. Like I was just listening to
Kristi Noem,
with
Megyn Kelly.
Megyn Kelly criticizing Kristi Noem for being
Caroline Leavitt. Yeah.
It's mean girls. Please go back to your caves and remember that sisterhood is going to save you, not sniping at another woman to try to be the head cheerleader
or standing for the I know it's like
enough. It never works. It always backfires. You can get in there for a minute, but yeah, I saw that Candace Owens is getting
isn't she a Cancer too?
She's a Taurus.
A Taurus.
Yeah, I saw that she was expressing that she was so stunned about MAGA and what they're doing. So some of the women who thought they were getting a hall pass into the patriarchy during Mars and Cancer are now finding out that no, you
were used. You were
used. Like the popular guy being nice to you so he could cheat off your math test. How many of us have been through that? That's what I feel like Mars and Cancer was. So goodbye, good riddance, Mars and Cancer. We'll see you in 2 years. And Mars and Leo, we can only hope will be better.
Well, Mars and Leo can bring out some playful, fun energy. It's Lady Gaga at Coachella, you know?
Yeah. It might get some more, it might get our personal lives popping a little more.
Yeah, love has been like in a drought this year. And I think with Venus going direct, now Mars and Leo might actually kick off some spring fever for people.
We got a couple of spicy weeks for some spring flinging.
I mean, Mars is actually going to be trine Neptune on Saturday. Now, that happens once a year, but this is the first time since the 1800s that this has happened in fire signs, because Mars in Leo, trine Neptune in Aries. Neptune moved into Aries on March 30th, which, if you want to listen back a couple weeks, was a huge deal. And we talked a lot about what was happening. It's funny, when we were prepping for the podcast today, I kept hearing the Beatles' Revolution in my head, and I looked at the year it came out. It came out in August of 1968, and that week Mars moved from Cancer to Leo, and I just kept thinking about how the message of it was like, we need a revolution, but a revolution of love, not hate. Now that might sound a little Pollyanna, but the nodes were actually in Aries and Libra then, as they were at the beginning of this year.
Saturn was in Aries, right?
Saturn was in Aries
next month.
That's
happening first time since the mid 1990s.
This is a big year for manifestation, because we have the North Node in Pisces, which is really what evokes our destiny. It's a 9-year. But what manifestation requires is for you to picture yourself already surrounded by the circumstances you wish to create. That's what Wayne Dyer put it as in his Power of Intention. I really like, it's like acting as if, knowing what you want to have happen, and then almost constantly visualizing yourself as if those results have already happened. Well, right now, the only thing that a lot of us can visualize is the terror, and we're not wrong for that. It's like, oh my God, democracy is dying. Oh my God, we're in fascism. There's a coup. And while it's true in many ways that is happening, oh my God, the markets are crashing. However, what's on the other side of that in an ideal world? Right now, it's like people are not aligned around any sort of vision. And I think what's going to Mars and Leo and that creative forward momentum is inviting us, and Mercury back in Aries now and direct, to, take all the things we've learned since Mars was in Leo November 3rd, 2 days before the election, the shock of Trump winning for many people. We've had time to process that from the last Mars in Leo, which lasts until January 6th. And just say, like, okay, what's the new flex here? And I think AOC is maybe one of the only people, in Bernie Sanders, putting something out there that's new that we can visualize. So,
right. Which brings us to a special invitation for you, actually, which we'll put in the show notes. Ophi, was part of a summit called Manifesting with the Masters. It's totally free, virtual summit. And it's free and available this week for you. So Jen Mazer, the Queen of Manifestation, has gathered up some amazing people. If you've ever read The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, he's one of the people speaking. It's over 20 speakers on how to manifest in the age of Aquarius. And I talk about this year and some of our tools and techniques, how to navigate this year's transits, really empowering conversation, amazing group of speakers. Sark, if you're someone we had her book Succulent Wild Woman. She's an illustrator who writes these really affirmative, beautifully illustrated books she has many of them that were really, I remember.
She's an Aries, right? Yeah.
She's an Aries. Yeah. I remember getting one of her books in the 1990s, actually. But it's just, it puts something else in your brain. Like you mentioned Wayne Dyer, one of our fellow Detroiters, and a Taurus, RIP. He, as we go into Taurus season, it's a really good time for manifesting, because I think it's great. The summit is free all this week, and all totally free for you to listen to. We love sharing summits like that because it just, I feel like our readers are so hungry for a download of positive energy because you guys are so generous. When you get the download, you don't just keep it all for yourself. You go and share it with everyone and transmit it out into the universe. So it's
positive and proactive.
Yeah. I mean,
but having the tool, having like guidelines, like we do need, I can't wait to listen to that because like we talk about manifestation, like, oh my, I mean, I gave you a simple definition, but there is more to it. And like keeping yourself in the right headspace to be able to manifest, or even having like a structure or a system. This is what we need right now. And with Saturn and Neptune, they've been together in Pisces since March of 2023. They're going to be together in Aries. Basically, they're still up between Pisces and Aries until early next year, but then in Aries until 2028 together. Neptune is dreams and vision and miracles, and Saturn is structure. They've been together for a while, and so we really do need a vision and a plan. A vision and a plan.
And I like this summit because it does have a mix of guests, some like who do plant medicine and some who are very like goal focused. So you can dip in and out of like kind of a left brain, right brain approach to manifesting. Some of us like me mix them all together in one pot. But it's, so we will drop that link in our show notes. We also have a couple other, it's summit season.
It is. Summit Detroit. That's why we'll be back here in June. We mentioned that earlier.
So the Manifesting Summit is free. And then May 16th, if you're in the New York area and want to come to a super inspiring summit for women who are mixing their professional aspirations with wellness. We have the Win Summit. We're going to put this all, it's all on our events page.
Let's share the events.
astrostyle.com/events. And then a super curated one in Detroit, Summit Detroit. So those are all at astrostyle.com/events. But we would love for you to enjoy this week the Manifesting with the Masters Summit. And if you want something super personalized for yourself, we have a few spots for one-on-one chart readings with me or Tali. We go, we have times that we do them, times that we don't, but we feel like the world really needs them right now more than ever. So limited spots, but we would love to get to know your chart and support you with making some plans as we navigate this very uncertain year.
It is so helpful to just have that guidance. And again, Taurus season starting on Saturday, April 19th for a month is going to be helpful and just maybe calming our nervous systems. It hasn't been easy, while all the retrogrades were happening last month. We had the sun in Pisces, which can spin up a lot of like, oh my God, crisis thinking, trauma. And then Aries, which can be very anxiety provoking and agitating. Taurus kind of gets your central nervous system calmed
so I was saying
down.
like Wayne Dyer, his work would be great to revisit now, but he said whatever you focus on expands. And that's why I think it's a really great time to change our focus. Now that we're out of the retrograde, retrogrades are like a feedback loop. They keep pulling us back. It's almost like you're like swimming and trying to get to the shore, and then a current keeps sweeping you back out. So now that we're out of retrograde season, Pluto goes retrograde May 4th, but I feel like the outer planet retrogrades are a very different animal. Those last for 4 or 5 months. They're much subtler. The inner planet retrogrades are the ones that really kick our asses. So now that we're done with that, feeding yourself, future focused, manifesting, like don't just be the change you want to see in the world. If you're not ready to do that, at least see the change, see it in your mind's eye, and feed your mind things that help you actually believe that it's possible.
So see the change you wish to be in the world, then be the change. We have to, it's like, and I think we were I just want to go back to a couple things that this is, while we're calming ourselves, one of the ways, there are going to be ways like tapping, breath work, movement, moving your body, music, dancing. Leo's much more like active energy, making
Physical.
art therapy, catharsis. But we do absolutely need to support leaders, support local leaders and state leaders too, and not just support them, but also get in their ear about things that you want to see. You don't like this, they need to know, because they do care about winning, as long as we still have free and fair elections, and hopefully that will never change. I did want to follow up on something from last week. We talked about the Saves Act that was going to be pushed to the House floor, that was going to require you to have 2 pieces of ID with that, and one has to be your birth certificate and the other has to match your last name on your birth certificate, which means if you changed your name for marriage, then you either have to change your name back or you don't get to vote in elections. That actually passed through the House. It has not passed through the Senate. It's a lot harder, but not impossible to do that. So that is frightening. We continue to see things that we need to stay alert. Linda McMahon, what's her official title again?
The U.S. Secretary of Education.
Right, the World Wrestling Federation wife. So she is in charge of dismantling the Department of Education. She went to an AI conference and came back and gave a speech about how wonderful this A1 was.
Oh my
She
God.
literally has boiled our education, our mind down to a steak sauce. So,
wow.
If you thought the red meat couldn't get any worse out there.
Circling back real quick to how we have to see the change if we can't yet be it. I have found myself less equipped than I thought, for getting myself out of these deep ruts that I can get pulled into during the first quarter of the year with all the retrogrades. I have to say, I've taken for granted how privileged of a life I have in this country, and how I didn't have to fully think about certain things the way I have now. I was not equipped with the kind of tools for dealing with the continuous traumatic effect of reading the news and feeling hopeless and defeated and pulling myself out of that. I'm not saying people have been going through this for years. Different marginalized groups certainly have endured this all along and have never even gotten a break from it. But I don't want to get resigned. And I do know, and I'm going to keep saying, we need spiritual technology, tools. We need to keep expanding our consciousness and our technological skills too. It's not just about heading to the mountaintop and, manifesting either. It's also keeping yourself educated and in a position of leadership. I have 2 peers, 2 friends that I've known for a long time who are running for office right now, 2 women. And I think it's just badass and awesome that, I was oh, politicians are over there. It's no, those are my friends. And I know that they truly do care. So what's interesting as we move into the age of Aquarius and Pluto in Aquarius, that reality show stars great. We know the cast of Love Island. There's going to be fascinating to some of us too, but we are getting interested in who's in the Senate, who's in the House, who are these local and state politicians. They are becoming kind of people that we pay attention to and want to know
Cory
their names.
Booker, and
They're becoming heroes and iconic and celebs in their own right.
And remember, everyone, we are in the year of the Divine Pendulum. We're in a 9 universal year, the end of a 9-year cycle. This year, everything is just swinging wildly. It's going to be hard to really see where it's that merry-go-round that keeps on going, and it slows down until another kid jumps on, and then all of a sudden it speeds up again. It's just going to be like that this year. And it's really important that we have stable foundations. The South Node is in Virgo. So any kind of repetitive habits you can plug into a calendar, make them non-negotiable. Even if it's like, I will walk for 20 minutes a day, or I will read, or I will not read. I will not bring my phone to my bedside, or I will listen to music, like whatever practices we couldn't put into play to ground and center it. I mean, right now my thumb and index finger hurt from scrolling too much. So I'm not like, I'm preaching to myself here more than anyone. But with the South Node, which is our anchor in Virgo all year, it is important that we simplify, streamline, and put healthy habits in place so that we
systems. Like I'm starting to learn more about human design and how it works. For example, from our friend Erin Claire Jones and other sources, like I'm feeling this need to understand the wiring. What's in the motherboard and the circuit board of humankind and myself. So I can be like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to go this way, da, 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 da. So empower yourself with whatever, like Tali was saying, habits, knowledge, practices, rituals, and routines.
It echoes, in a way, what's happening with Saturn and Neptune being close to each other. We have Virgo, which is very disciplined. Now Virgo's ruled by Mercury, not Saturn. But there's sort of an echo there. And then we have this Pisces North Node that is ruled by Neptune. So it's like, if the pendulum can swing in any way in our own lives, and we can intentionally move the pendulum, it's between the dreaming state, a lot of people are getting into microdosing, psilocybin, using Pisces. And rebooting their serotonin with plant medicine,
and their nervous system, and dealing with anxiety. So Virgo. So
of course, Anxiety by Dochi would be like a hit this year. It's kind of perfect. No, I mean, we need stability, and we need to swing into the bigger visioning, dreaming possibilities and potential, and have like MAGA has a message, make America great again. But the left does not have a unifying message, because there are so many things that we care about that matter, but how do you put them under an umbrella that can just, it's like what matters to us and our values. And that's something we'll be thinking about. Taurus is a sign that rules our values, what we find valuable. So things to chew on this week.
Yep. And with the Mercury and Mars and fire signs, getting that messaging and personal branding and platforming out there in a really powerful, compelling way, it matters. Your message matters, but how you deliver it matters too. So when you don't, care about anyone's feelings, it's easier to put a very clear message out there. But how can we fuse compassion with a clear, strong message? That's very Neptune and Aries. We have till 2038 there.
They did a good job of it last time Neptune was in Aries. We had abolition and free love and suffrage and Reconstruction and the end of the Civil War and the beginning of the Civil War. So we talked about that a couple weeks ago. Definitely worth a listen if you want to hear some the last two podcasts, last couple of weeks, we went deep into some history that I think, because there's some bigger transits happening, and we will go in and out of that. But you say you want a revolution? Well, this week, start thinking about what that might look like on the other side. Not the revolution itself, but what's that new world that we all need to start dreaming?
What could it look like?
Okay. Till next week. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for tuning in to AstroTwins Radio. If today's episode gave you an aha moment, we'd be over the moon if you left us a 5-star review. It helps fellow astrology lovers find us. And make sure to hit subscribe and follow us on iTunes and Spotify so you never miss an episode. Want the full visual experience? You can also watch the video version on our YouTube at AstroTwins-TV. Be sure to follow us on Instagram at AstroTwins and head over to astrostyle.com to read your free daily, weekly, and monthly horoscope that we write for you with love. Until next time, move with intention and let the universe meet you there.